Hey everybody, on episode 4 of Irish Whiskey Month, I'll be drinking Bushmills White Label. Stick around. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of With or Without Whiskey. I'm your host Ryan, and for the 4th episode of Irish Whiskey Month, I will be drinking Bushmills White Label. So, let's see what this classic Irish whiskey has to offer. Do me a favor and hit the subscribe button down below. It shows support for the channel, and it helps other people find us as well. Bushmills is claimed to be the oldest whiskey brand in the world. Bushmills advertises that they've been around since 1608, but Bushmills' Old Distilling Company wasn't established until 1784. The year 1608 refers to the year a license was issued by King James I, which allowed Sir Thomas Phillips to legally distill whiskey. Bushmills gets its name from the mills used to make the barley and the River Bush, which was and still is the water source for the whiskey. Bushmills had some periods of time in 1802 and 1822 where there were no records of the distillery being in operation. Then in 1885, the original Bushmills buildings were destroyed by a fire, but were quickly rebuilt and production of the whiskey continued. In 1890, the SS Bushmills made her maiden voyage to deliver whiskey to America. Bushmills White Label is a blended Irish whiskey made from a 5-year grain whiskey and a 3-year-old triple distilled pot still malt whiskey. It is 80 proof or 40% ABV, costs about $20 to $30, and is aged in American oak. All right, let's get into it. So, 3 out of the 4 whiskeys this month have been screw caps. And that wasn't intentional at all. All right, so take a look at the color. Again, it's looking very similar to the other 3 Irish whiskeys we were looking at. Very light, not too light where it's like almost clear, but it's got a decent amount of gold color to it. Let's get into the nose. Okay, right up front, it's got a lot of those floral notes, and it's also got a lot of the malt characteristics to it. There's a little bit of that kind of grain whiskey in there, but it's not really that noticeable. There's some honey, and there's some of those orchard fruits, like those apple and those pear notes. I'm getting a little bit of vanilla, but it's mostly in the back on like the tail end of the scent. Nothing too overpowering. All right, let's get into the taste. Cheers, guys. Okay, on the taste, it's pretty thin, but that doesn't take away from the flavor. This one's got a lot going on right up front. It's very malty, but it's also got a lot of honey sweetness right in the front. There's a little bit of apple and pear notes in there, and I'm getting like that kind of budget vanilla icing taste. Let's go again. There's some vanilla notes in there, and I'm actually getting some cherry notes in there, which is probably from the American oak casks. The finish is actually not that bad. I'd say it's about a medium finish. There's definitely that malt characteristic to it. It's got some honey, it's got some caramel to it. There's a little bit of that metallic taste on the end of the finish, but it's definitely not punching through. It's more of like a subtle sprinkle than it is a major tasting note. It also almost has like a sugar cookie taste right at the end. Like if you were to go to the supermarket and get those pre-packaged like thick sugar cookies, it kind of has that taste to it. Not those homemade ones, but like those cheap store-bought ones. All right, let's see what happens when we add a little bit of water to it. One, two. Okay, the nose lost a lot of those fruity notes, like there's no apple, there's no pear. There's a little bit of honey. There's definitely some malt notes in there, but the major note I'm getting from this is like kind of like an earthy, grassy kind of scent. It's a little musty, but it's not crazy bad. It's playing very well with the other scents in here. Let's see what it did to the palate. Okay, the malt note definitely got pushed to the back on this one. It's still there, but it's not the first thing that hits you. The first thing I'm getting is a nice fruity sweetness, like I'm getting those apple notes again. There's some vanilla there, and there's a little bit of brown sugar. It's actually a lot more sweet when you add the water. Let's see what else we can get. Yeah, it's very sweet right up front. There's some fruity notes. It tastes almost like a Honeycrisp apple with like hints of vanilla added to it. The finish is about the same. It's still in that medium finish length. There's some vanilla notes in there. I'm still getting that metallic note, and that sugar cookie note is still pretty much there. So I'd say the finish was about the same with or without the water. All right, stick around for the grade. So for Bushmills White Label Irish Whiskey, I think I'm gonna give it a grade of 83 out of 100. This is one of my favorite Irish whiskeys. I absolutely love Bushmills. On the nose, it was very floral and very malty. I got those right up front. Afterwards, it kind of followed with like a good fruity note with like apple and kind of pear, and had some honey and a little bit of vanilla as well. There was a slight scent of like that younger, like raw grains in there, but that was very faint. You could barely notice it. The taste was pretty thin, but it didn't take away from the flavor. Honey, apple, vanilla icing, and a good amount of malt, all kind of melding together in a very nice balance. The finish was actually surprisingly good. It was a medium finish. It didn't have that short standard finish that I've gotten in a lot of these budget Irish whiskeys. The metallic note that you kind of get from pot still whiskeys was there, but it wasn't in your face. And it kind of had like a sugar cookie sweetness to it. When I added some water to it, it kind of got rid of those fruity notes and made it more malty and floral. But on the palate, it intensified the sweetness. There was a little bit of honey, there was a little bit of vanilla, and then on the finish, it was almost exactly the same with or without water. So, for Bushmills White Label Irish Whiskey, I'm gonna go with it. Like I said, this is my favorite budget classic Irish whiskey. Everybody goes crazy over Jameson. Oh, that's the #1 Irish whiskey to get. But I say it's Bushmills. It's so much better tasting. The combination is really good. It's really sweet, but it's not sickeningly sweet. You still get those classic malt flavors in there. It's always available. It's always on the shelf. You can find it anywhere, and it just tastes so good. This budget whiskey tastes just as good, if not better, than some of the premium whiskeys I've had. So if you haven't had Bushmills before, please do yourself a favor and get a bottle. All right, well, that does it for today's episode of With or Without Whiskey. If you enjoyed the episode and you had a good time, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button down below. Also give me a like and hit the bell notification. That way you guys get informed every time I drop a new video. Also, leave me a comment below. Let me know, do you like Bushmills as much as I do, or do you think it's a little bit overrated? Do you buy it all the time, or have you never even tried it before? I love to hear what you guys have to think. Until next time, stay safe, everybody. Take care.